Specialist Maths. It's the 2017 Tech Allowed Integration SAC, question 5A and B, explained. Okay, so we have this situation where this is our flight tunnel, there is the x-axis, and there is the y-axis. So the bit which is the bit down the bottom, which is the inverse cosine, is determined for y values going from minus pi to 0. So maps, motherboard, boils water. What is the radius when the depth of the water is 2 pi on 3? Well, it's going to be at a depth of 2 pi on 3 when it's there, because the depth of the water will be 2 pi on 3. But we'll have a y value of negative pi on 3. So I'm going to use the equation for the bottom bit, set y equal to minus pi on 3 and solve for x, because x will give you the radius. And then lifting the answers from the area inlet, this is the rule for the y value according to x for the range going from minus pi to 0. So I've got minus pi on 3 equals the inverse cosine of x minus 7 on 2 minus pi. When I move the minus pi over, I get 2 pi on 3 is the inverse cosine of x minus 7 on 2. If I take the cosine of both sides, the cosine of 2 pi on 3 equals the cosine of the inverse cosine, which gives you x minus 7 on 2. That's negative a half because we're in the second quadrant. Plus 7 on 2 equals x. X equals 6 on 2 or 3. So that's the answer to 5a. When I'm looking at 5b, we're wanting dx dt, and you're being given a hint that you need dx dy dot dy dv dot dv dt. And what I'd like to do is to walk through the solutions as to where they've all come from. So dx dt is dx dy, dy dv, dv dt. And looking at the change of rate, which is your dv dt, that comes from here. That Matt's mother pours the water in at a constant rate of 10 cubic centimetres per second. So that's the first bit. The second bit, dy dx, which is number 2, that comes from up here, where in question 2b, you came up with dy dx, so I'm lifting that and putting that in that position there because I want dx dy, I've turned it upside down. And the last bit, this bit, which is dy dv, comes from this part here, which is the volume of the bottom part of the tunnel. And if the volume is this, then dv dy is the inside, and then I want to just place that, I want to flip it upside down to get, I want this one here, so I want dy dv. So that's where the three bits that are multiplied together come from.